Hello Scorpio friends, I'm Annie Botticelli and welcome to my March 2020 horoscope report for you. I'm very happy to report that once again this month we have more sweet aspects in the sky than we do salty ones, and whenever that happens it sets a beautiful tone for the month. In this video I'm going to do more of discussing of the energies of the month, how those can specifically affect Scorpios. I'm going to give you important dates to note, and I'm also going to talk about Saturn moving into Aquarius. Some important things to know about this as far as the transit length and what's happening with it this year, and what this means for Scorpios. Okay, so let's start from the beginning here. Okay, back to this exciting point that we do have more sweet aspects this month. Whenever that happens, it sets a general tone for more harmony in the cosmos. And when that happens, it can be an easier month in many ways. Of course, how we personally experience something is way more complicated than that because we have our personal charts besides all these other factors. But if you've got something on the side of sweetness and ease, then we'll take it, right? So what's a second notch that's good for Scorpios is that the movement of the planets is favoring or leaning more towards water and earth signs. And because of that, the aspects in the sky are making favorable aspects with your placement. So I do expect in general for this to be, I have a lot of sweetness for Scorpio specifically. I know if you've been watching my reports, you'll know that earlier in the year I called the video News That Will Change Your Life, and many Scorpios that I know did have a series of life-changing news or lots of big things there. So you might still be coming off of that, and it's in general a big time for Scorpios. As you can tell, a lot of things changing and a lot of things happening. So let's drill down a little bit. Mercury is in retrograde still until around March 9th. So it's dipping back into Aquarius, and that is a little bit of an awkward angle, but it's going to spend a predominance of the time in Pisces, and then it's going to continue moving through Pisces after March. So that's going to be sweet for you because that's a 120-degree angle. Okay, so we got the planet of news, communication, and mobility making nice kisses to your placement. That's the first thing. The second thing is we still have a predominance of the month with the sun in Pisces. Okay, so check, that's another thing for Scorpios. The sun, which rules your vitality and your creative expression and your, what makes you shine, that's making a sweet aspect with your placement. So we've got that as positive. We've got Venus about to move into Taurus, and this again is sweet for you because the earth and water signs tend to go together very well. And Venus rules love and beauty and money. Okay, now this placement can create a little overstimulation for you this month because Venus is going to be opposing your sign, okay? But Venus is in general a very benevolent planet, and even when it does something in an angle that could be a little challenging, like an opposition, it's usually just more overstimulation or overdoing. So there could be lots of fun this month, like overdoing fun, busyness from fun, getting sick because you're running yourself ragged because you're having fun. That's certainly a possibility. And there's also Mars that is moving through Capricorn. So that's making a 60-degree angle, and it's in a fellow earth sign to Venus. So they're working together, and both of those planets are in a sweet aspect for you. Okay, so you can see why I'm excited about this for you. Now, the earth movements are going to help you continue to ground things into reality. You have been seeing, I'm sure, many of you that, especially if you've been doing your work and you've been really working hard and following what the planets have been wanting you to do, that a lot of things might be starting to gel for you. And this could be a very critical month, again, of things really gelling for you. So things that were ideas, things that were projects, things that were in the backdrop could start to manifest. So lots of opportunities could come in. If those opportunities come in and it's more towards the beginning or first half of the month, see if it feels right to wait a little bit until towards the end of the month before you decide exactly what to do with those opportunities, before you make any commitments, because Mercury being retrograde until around the 9th, and that date will differ depending on your time zone. But those days around there, every day after March 9th, we get more and more clarity from Mercury going direct. And as that happens, by the end of the month, Mercury is completely clear. But it might be until the end of the month before you have clarity about certain plans you're trying to make, certain things you're trying to bring out, which brings me to the first series of important dates, okay? So I will often talk about the energy of retrogrades and why it's important to sync up with them, because retrograde energy moves inward and backward. And we have this year of 2020 is an inward and backward year in a lot of ways because of all the personal planets moving in retrograde. Mercury will do it 3 times, which is usual. Venus will go retrograde and Mars will go retrograde. So this year, we've got to really carefully plan our big launches, big decisions, big to-dos around these retrograde movements. So March 30th through April 9th is your big window. You want to put this on your calendar. Moves, commitments, contracts, launches, anything important you have to do, there's going to be a massive gust of energy outward. In between this like retrograde year, there's this like bubbling up for air, we'll call it, okay? So as you have opportunities come in, as you're completing projects, as people are coming to you and want to collaborate, which is definitely a theme that's coming up more and more, you know, try to push the big pieces into that time frame so that you get the most oomph. Because the date you launch something is a birth date, and it carries the energy of that, you know, your project carries the energy of that date. Okay, so the next important date that I want to give you is March 19th, and this is when the sun moves into Aries, so it's the astrological new year. The astrological new year is very exciting because there's a clean slate, everything's new, the energies are moving into Aries, and that is, you know, even though Aries is a little bit of an awkward angle specifically for Scorpio, it's exciting in the way that it is a clean slate, it is new, it might push you to have to do something and take action and move from the emotional realm into the action realm, which could be part of the discomfort. But it's still super refreshing. And if you've been needing some break from stagnancy, then this can definitely bring it, okay? So sometimes the astrological new year can feel even more like a new year than the regular new year. Although this year we had a lot of new energies. It's not always that way. Sometimes January is supposed to be the new year, right? But we're like in the midst of a retrograde and it doesn't feel like that. So this year we had a super huge new beginning in January. And now expect that similar energy of new beginnings to be bubbling up at this time. On March 24th, we have like the kickoff party for the new year, which is when the new moon in Aries occurs. So the new moon in Aries is one of the best times astrologically to do a vision board. Vision boards are where you either do this virtually or you clip out magazine pictures that are either something exactly what you want, like a certain type of vehicle, a certain type of device, a certain type of location for a trip, or the essence of something you want to bring more of in your life, peace, tranquility, you know, harmony, love, whatever it is. So if you're into manifesting consciously, then definitely keep those dates around the 24th. And remember, if you're in a different time zone, you have to see when the new moon is going to be for you, because it could be a little bit different than the 24th, depending on where you are. But the closer to the new moon you get, the more power you have behind those vision boards, okay? So put that on there, on your calendar. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about has to do with Saturn, and this is a big deal, okay? So I talked about earlier how what makes a horoscope different every month tends to be the personal planets moving. And that is very rare when an outer planet, the ones that are further from us, do anything significant. Sometimes they'll make aspects or whatever, but like to move into a different house for you, to move into a different sign for everybody is very rare in outer planet world. But this is happening this month. So you're probably going to be hearing a lot about this. And I think that there are certain details about Saturn moving into this sign that might not be included. I don't really know. I'm just assuming that there are some important pieces that I want to share with you about Saturn moving into Aquarius, okay? Okay, so the first thing to know is that Saturn is only going to get up to 1 degree of Aquarius. 0 to 29 degrees is how we measure the movement of the planet through, you know, the sky. And so, you know, we'll call it a circle, and they're moving, even though it's not quite a circle, it's not the point. There's 360 degrees in the circle, and 360 divided by 12 is 30 degrees. So there's 30 degrees in each sign. So the planets move 0 degrees of one sign, 1 degree of, 2 degrees, etc. When they go retrograde, they move backwards in degree. So this whole year in 2020, Saturn is only going to get to 1 degree of Aquarius. It's going to get up to 1 degree, and then in like June, it's going to go retrograde, go back into Capricorn, and then not till the end of 2020 is it going to start moving forward again, and not till 2021 is it going to move beyond 1 degree of Aquarius. And this is really important because there may be discussion about Saturn moving into your 4th house, okay? And from a whole house astrology perspective, there are different systems for doing astrology, okay? So there's different systems for doing Western astrology. And there's different systems for doing astrology, period. So there's Mayan astrology, there's Chinese astrology, there's, Vedic astrology, there's an unlimited, almost seemingly unlimited amount of different types of astrology. And then there's different systems within those systems. And so within Western astrology, there's something called whole house, which means that when it moves into a new area of the chart for one sign, that it's there for every member of that sign. But when you look at what's called a Placidus chart, which is the type of astrology that I do, it's not true, okay? So barely any Scorpio is really going to have the energy of Saturn hitting in their 4th house in any big noticeable way. There might be little whispers, there might be some pieces or themes coming in, but most Scorpios are not going to experience the energy of Saturn moving into their 4th houses until 2021 and beyond. Okay, so Saturn is in Aquarius into March 2023. So most of you are going to have that energy of Saturn still in your 3rd house this year. Okay, so that's the biggest thing that I want you to know, because I'm almost certain that you're going to be hearing a lot of, hey Scorpio, Saturn's moving into your 4th house, this is what this means. Okay, well, pay attention to that, because those things that they're talking about will come, but know what I'm saying. Okay, this is really important. All right, so what does this mean? Let's talk about what Saturn does and what you can expect when Saturn moves somewhere. We'll talk about what it means going into the 4th house, but just know that only those of you, like, we'll say in the first 4 days or so of the sign, maybe 5 days or 5 degrees of the sign, are really going to notice something here. But it's coming for the rest of you, okay? So every planet, every placement, every sign has a range of potential expression. Saturn gets a bad rap because it can bring hardships and heaviness and burdens and difficulties, and it can, feel like you're walking through mud and taking forever to get to things. There's obstacles and things like that. So, and it can be depressing and, heavy and all that. But it has another end that isn't talked about as much, and that end is pure manifestation. It's like from thought to creation right in front of you. Pure manifestation in form. It's the work, the discipline, the creation process is a Saturnian experience. So many people, when Saturn is in a certain area of their chart, will see manifestations, will see accomplishment, will see recognition, will see headway, but it will usually have to come through hard work, discipline, consistency. Those are like the principles of Saturn. And the more you honor the principles of Saturn, especially in the areas of life that it's showing up for you, the more you're going to get to the positive end of that, which is the material form, the security, the long-term gains, and all of that. Okay, so now keep all this in mind and then think about home and family. So the energy of Saturn moving into Aquarius, when it moves through Aquarius, it's going to be affecting the home sector. So hardships, difficulties, obstacles, challenges, heaviness, or manifestation, creation, accomplishment, recognition, all in the house of home and family. And that includes real estate, anything related to real estate, home-based businesses, the creation of home-based businesses, the expansion of them, businesses that are based around homes, so real estate, construction, feng shui, also anything having to do with psychology or working with families or anything like that. So careers and work in those lines are going to have extra effects by Saturn's movement. And a lot of times, Saturn is directing you. It's saying, okay, you've been doing all this other stuff. Now guess what? We're going to put this stuff in your face to deal with in this arena of life, which in this case is home and family. So that's coming for all of you, most likely to not be super current until 2021 and beyond, but you might get whispers and themes that are coming up. So where it's going to be still focused, and this is for all of you, even those of you in the first couple of degrees of the sign, in the first couple of days of the birthdays, you're still going to have strong influence in the 3rd house. Okay, so here's what that means. look back over recent years and think about the energy of your siblings, your cousins, your relatives that aren't your parents or kids. Think about your phones, your devices, your computers, your cars, your mobility, your physical mobility as far as, functionality. Think about those things, okay? And think about what's happened over these last years. That will help you see how Saturn has been at play. Have you had obstacles? Have you had difficulties, question marks with these things? Have you had things breaking? Have you had things that weren't ideal? Devices that couldn't keep up with your needs? Did you not have a vehicle? Maybe it wasn't working, or have you had new car, new bike, new plane, new boat, new, devices, new computers that have helped you to step in and manifest your communication through the devices, manifest your mobility through those venues. So however it's been manifesting, there's still a storyline at work here for the rest of 2020. Maybe you have relatives that you haven't seen and you want to see them. Maybe you've had relatives that you had conflicts with and you have to still do some more work. Okay, the thing to remember is whenever the conflict or the difficulty or the obstacle rears its ugly head, it's not happening to torture you. It's happening because Saturn wants you to apply consistency, discipline, hard work to whatever the problem is. And that's going to help you finish the storyline feeling victorious. All right, so you may have noticed that your communication, the way that you can express yourself, whether it's through art or whether it's, with your with people, just how you're talking, expressing your feelings, getting in touch with your feelings, things like that. So there's storylines here, and they're going to continue. And that's the most important thing that you have to know about Saturn moving into Aquarius, okay? All right, so just a couple of other quick pieces here. I want to talk about how Uranus has been moving through Taurus, and this has been going on for a couple of years. Those of you in the beginning of the sign, you guys have been getting really affected. So again, we'll say like the first 5 days, the first, 5 degrees, you guys have been having Uranus work back and forth over opposing your placement. And opposition brings points of conflict that you have to transcend, where you balance both of the points, okay? So surprises, upsets. And it's important for the rest of you to listen, even though you're thinking it's not relevant for you. It is relevant for you. It's just not happening yet. All right, so I'm going to talk about where it's moving next and who is going to be under guard here. All right, so until now, just those of you at the very beginning have been sort of having a lot of these upsets, and anyone really will put in the October born time frame, and 0 to 9 degrees, we'll say, has had the most chance of being affected so far. Surprises that change your course. Sudden things, jostling for better or worse, just, a lot of suddenness, a lot of jostling. Now, those of you right at the beginning there that have been getting worked, it's coming off of you. As of this time, right now, you're going to be kind of passed over by Uranus. And where the direction is heading next is to the rest of the October born. All right, so we'll specifically say like the 26th through the rest of the sign and maybe the first couple of days of November. For 2020, expect sudden changes, sudden surprises to be jostled for better or worse. It could be something like you get a job you've always wanted and now you have to move across the world or something like that, Uranus can be feared as well because it can bring unwelcome surprises, but it can also bring welcome surprises. So I just wanted you to be aware, those of you in that time frame, that in this time frame of 2020, you're getting targeted with Uranus. Now, beyond that, those of you getting into the beginning the first week of November, and you're going to be targeted in 2021, and the rest of you don't have this happening yet, unless you have more than one Scorpio placement, which brings me to something that I like to mention. If you don't know how many placements in Scorpio you have, you are not benefiting from my readings and possibly others' readings as much as you could. Like for instance, I have 9 placements in Sagittarius. So when something's going on in Sagittarius, I have like a long stretch of degrees of Sag that are affected. So when something's affecting Sagittarius, it's boom, 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 like hitting all of these different planets for me. If I didn't know that, then I wouldn't understand why I get like extra blessings when there's nice aspects and why I get completely shellacked when there's not. So I recommend that you do a search for Run a Free Birth Chart online and look, see what the Scorpio glyph is, see the degrees, look to see if you have more than one Scorpio placement and what the degrees are. If you do this, you can, this very, very simple thing you can do, this can take your learning and your use of astrology up to the next level, because then you'll know, all right, well, Annie said those first 0 to 9 degrees, and I'm not in that with my sun or moon or rising that I'm watching for, but I have my Venus at 20 degrees of Scorpio. And so therefore, you know, you see what I'm saying? Okay, so obviously I'm an astrology teacher. That's why I like to go into more detail about how you can continue to use this in ways that will help you. Okay, so basic overview of the month, lots of calls to action because of the Earth planets, helping you to form and to manifest. Because of the retrograde transit, we want to take the options, take the energies, and maybe wait for more clarity before you fine tune and bring out towards the end of the month, beginning of April. There's going to be lots of harmony in the stars, and there's going to be, those harmonious placements are going to kiss your placements, okay? So that's super sweet. We have the Saturn thing that we talked about at length, so just kind of be aware of that. Yes, there are some changes and some new themes may come in. If you are not in the beginning of the sign, I recommend that you still do extra work on working your inner world, working your inner psychology, your childhood psychology, looking into putting some time and discipline into home and family. Because if you start that practice now, that when Saturn gets to you all, which for most of you is not going to be this year, then when it gets there, it has more of a chance to bring the accomplishment, bring the outcomes, rather than bringing the problems. It's like you can head it off. I always describe, you know, using astrology as like, you know, a meteorology report when they say it might rain and you bring an umbrella and maybe it rains, maybe it doesn't rain, but if it does, you have your umbrella. So it's better to be prepared and to be able to work beforehand than just kind of getting caught completely unaware and being like, oh no, what's happening now? What do I do, right? So an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Okay, so if you'd like to have more information on how you can use the astrology of this time to actively and consciously create your best life, I have lots of resources, so definitely sign up for my free email newsletter at anniehelpsyou.com. I do a write-up of the sweet and salty dates, what dates they are, what the aspects are, what you can expect from them, plus a little, you know, write-up of the general, and sometimes it's a longer, depending on what's going on. There's a write-up of, you know, the month, and in this case, like I've got the a special Mercury retrograde addition to my newsletters. I mean, like personal planet retrograde, where I tell you the dates of all the retrogrades of the year and how you can use them. So when you go to anniehelpsyou.com, sign up for my free email newsletter, you get all this delivered into your inbox 1 month early. Okay, so that you have more. If you're a visual person and you need to see some of this, you can see that there. I also have a ton of blogs on Venus retrograde, which is coming next. Okay, so April 9th, I told you that magic March 30th through April 9th. The reason why that's a magical time is because after April 9th, we start moving into the pre-shadow, the shadow period of the transit of Venus retrograde. So it's not yet going retrograde, but it's starting up. So you can get a leg up on understanding what Venus retrograde is good for. And you can check out my video. The video that I have on Venus retrograde, to my knowledge, is the most viewed video on the internet about Venus retrograde, the general implications of Venus retrograde. So there's just a massive amount of information in that video. I've got a 12 blog series on Venus retrograde through the signs and houses and all kinds of other stuff. That's all at anniehelpsyou.com. At cozybysweetstarlight.com, and do know that I have the links to these sites that I'm giving you underneath, in the notes underneath. So if you miss anything, it's there. So cozybysweetstarlight.com, I do written horoscopes 1 month early. And I have lifestyle blogs for healthy living and astrology kissed blogs. So yoga with the sun moving through the signs, herbal tea blends for the, different signs. I have how to maximize the sun moving through all the different signs. It's just a beautiful site. So you definitely want to go to cozybysweetstarlight.com and check out all the resources that I have for you there. If you'd like to learn astrology and be an astrologer as part or all of your professional offering, definitely go to AnnieHelpsYou.com or Lume Life, L-U-M-E, life.com, which is my school, Luminous Life Multiversity, and see my Becoming a Professional Astrologer Mastery course, formerly known as my Astrology Apprenticeship Program. I have just a mind-boggling amount of details to help you to craft your interest in astrology into tangible practice that can help you to earn money doing what you love. Or if you don't want to make money from it, you can help yourself and your friends and family. So definitely check out that course at AnnieHelpsYou.com or LumeLife.com. You can also check out my other courses at Lume Life and my Luminous Life Multiversity School. So I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.